My name is Arwel, and the year was 1997. It was the summer after my 27th birthday, and the hills of South Wales were gold and green, heavy with the scent of wild gorse. I was a school teacher in Merthyr Tydfil, content with my quiet routines, my battered Vauxhall Astra, and my evenings at the Cross Keys, where the locals nursed pints and swapped stories. I'd always thought of myself as a man of modest dreams, but that summer, everything changed. Her name was Bethan Morgan. She had eyes the color of stormy sea glass and a laugh that could ring out across the valley. She came into my life like a sudden wild wind, and from our first meeting, I was lost. She'd come back home from university in Cardiff, her hair cropped short, arms adorned with silver bangles that clinked when she moved. She was nothing like the girls I'd grown up with. She read Yeats in the park, loved vinyl records, and talked about moving to Paris one day, maybe. We met at the Eisteddfod in Aberdare. I was there with my friend Glyn, watching the poetry readings, and she was in the audience, sketching the performers with a battered graphite pencil. I said something awkward, something about the weather, I think, and she smiled at me, as if I'd told a joke. Afterward, we walked together through the crowded field, bought piping hot Welsh cakes, and talked until the sky bled pink and the last bus was calling. In the weeks that followed, Bethan and I became inseparable. We explored ruined castles, picnicked by the waterfalls in Pont Fecin, and we sat in her attic room while rain tapped at the skylight. I'd never known happiness so fierce or so fragile. It was as if I was always waiting for something to go wrong. By Christmas, I'd bought a ring. I proposed on the cliffs above Southerndown, with the sea raging below and the cold wind whipping our cheeks. She said yes, her eyes shining, and in that moment, I felt like the luckiest man in all of Wales. Our wedding was in May, a modest affair at St. David's Church. The pews were full of family and friends, the air thick with the scent of daffodils. I remember her hand trembling in mine as we exchanged vows, the warmth of her lips against my cheek. We danced until our feet ached, and when we left the reception, the whole village cheered us down the street. For a while, married life felt like a dream. We rented a terraced house on the edge of town, painted the kitchen a ridiculous shade of yellow, and argued about whether to get a dog or a cat, but cracks began to show. Bethan grew restless. She started going out more, painting less, talking about music and art, and places she'd never seen. Then came Rhys. He was a guitarist at the Cross Keys, a man with long hair, quick fingers, and a voice that could melt a room. Bethan started going to the pub alone to listen to the music. At first I thought nothing of it. She needed her space, I told myself. But one night she didn't come home. I waited until dawn, pacing the kitchen, staring at the clock. When she finally walked in, she smelled of whiskey and cigarette smoke. Her eyes were distant, her smile brittle. We fought, shouted words I wish I could take back, and she left slamming the door behind her. Days passed, then weeks. I called her friends, her parents, even Rhys's bandmates, but no one knew or would tell me where she'd gone. I found her wedding ring on the mantelpiece, next to an unfinished sketch of the two of us on our wedding day. That's when I knew she wasn't coming back. People in town whispered. They said they'd seen Bethan and Rhys together, hitchhiking on the A470, heading north. Some said they were playing gigs in Aberystwyth. Others claimed she'd moved to Manchester. I never found out for sure. I tried to move on. I threw myself into my work, went on long walks in the Brecon Beacons, and avoided the Cross Keys. But everywhere I went, I saw her ghost in the wild flowers on the hillsides, in the rain streaking down the windows, in the music spilling from open pub doors. In the end, the hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was the emptiness she left behind. My heart felt hollow, as if some vital part of me had been carved out and carried away to another town, another future. Years have passed since that summer. I've learned to live with the ache, to let it shape me without defining me. Sometimes on quiet evenings, I take out that old sketch, her quick pencil lines capturing a moment of joy, and I remember the sound of her laugh, echoing across the valleys. For a while she was mine, and I was hers. And though she's gone, the memory lingers, sweet, sharp, and impossible to forget. That's the story of how I loved, lost, and found myself again in the hills of Wales, in the year the world changed for me.